I'm sure everyone remembers AOC wading into this discussion to show her support only after the fact, only after the unionization victory was secured. And many people, including Krystal Ball, pointed out that you left them high and dry while the actual drive was taking place. These are your constituents. You couldn't be bothered to show up until they're on the cusp of victory. And a lot of people tried to make it seem like Krystal Ball here was just trying to sow division. She was trying to, increase the already out of control leftist infighting, and she wasn't just pointing out a fact. But in fact, that is what she was doing. She was just repeating the words, the grievances of Christian Smalls himself, who we can see here on a Status Quo interview expresses exactly how he feels about AOC and her involvement or lack thereof in this unionized organizing drive. So let's take a quick listen to this clip, and then we can get your reaction, Jordan, to this whole discourse and what you think it says about at least the online left.
Back and share a celebratory moment with them, because without them, this wouldn't be possible.
And any message for AOC specifically?
Hell no, man. I'm not giving her no. She don't deserve this moment, man.
Well, one more last question. Do you think it's possible today that Jeff Bezos is so outraged and upset that he might go to space permanently?
I don't give a damn what Bezos did, honestly. Bezos ain't the CEO anymore, but I know he was watching, and I'm happy he was able to enjoy this. If he is enjoying it, but whatever.
No permanent space mission.
Nah, he probably ain't going nowhere. But it's no, you know what? Once again, I ain't giving this moment to him either. This is about the workers, and Jeff Bezos, politicians, everybody else. Forget about it. I know who was there from day one. I know who supported us from day one, and I know what we're capable of doing. Today we proved it.
Thanks, Chris.
So yeah, that was the clip. And I think, again, as I mentioned, it's odd to see so many people, especially online Twitter users, going after someone like Krystal Ball when she was really just repeating and giving a bigger platform to this grievance, which Christian Smalls has expressed himself numerous times now. This is something that the guy clearly feels. It's not like she's making up the sentiment. It's not like she was, taking words out of his mouth and twisting them to fit her agenda. No, she was merely saying, hey, this guy felt abandoned by you. He felt like you left them out to dry when it mattered. And now you're trying to, glom on to their success. So what was your reaction to this whole discourse, Jordan? I know you weighed in a little bit on Twitter, but I'd love to just, hear what you thought about the whole dynamic at play.
Well, I mean, give me some props, man. I weighed in and AOC responded, which was kind of nice.
Big time.
I believe my numbers, my response numbers were bigger than hers for about an hour, which was a pretty shining achievement. But then she took off. Yeah, I mean, she's a bullshit artist. What can I say? She responded, I think, to Krystal with that I've done oversight. We've called for oversight hearings of Amazon and yada, yada, yada. Right. But that's not why people elected you. They elected you to be with the grassroots. They elected you to activate the base. In this case, AOC supporters kind of said, well, they won without her. And, what's the point of going after people that support your cause? Well, actions speak louder than words. And her response was security concerns. I remember I went to cover their first press conference over the summer, and they had advertised her speaking, which drew more media attention, interest from workers in the warehouse who aren't that into politics per se, but know AOC. A lot of those workers are younger, know AOC, and they got flaked on the night before. So that's, really deflating if it's your first press conference and the star speaker doesn't show up. But even beyond that, okay, security concerns, they get a lot of death threats. So I'll give her the benefit of the doubt if that's accurate. But there are no security concerns, which I pointed out to her with tweeting support, tweeting something.
Oh, yeah, you did get that ratio, George.
Yeah, tweeting support in terms of, when organizers are getting arrested for handing out grilled chicken, tweeting support in the final weeks, the final days with their link, urging workers to vote yes. I mean, these are all things that obviously she could have done. There's no time constraints on that. That's the power of 13 million Twitter followers. So, I call them like I see it. I think that it doesn't really make sense to me that she was out there in Buffalo with the Starbucks workers before they unionized. She showed up. She was out there with Columbia students on strike. She showed up, which kudos to her. Why not this? I mean, it makes zero sense.
My theory, Jordan, is that she just simply didn't think it would be successful. We've talked about this a little bit on the podcast, but there's a couple of instances in AOC's history as a politician where she's kind of done this exact move. Another one being Cori Bush's election in Missouri, our state. Cori Bush actually was not endorsed by AOC her second time running, in which she was ultimately successful against William Lacey Clay. AOC stayed out of it, presumably because she thought Cori Bush simply wouldn't win, having already lost her previous election. She just, didn't think it was worth investing her time and her brand into a failing campaign as she saw it. And then obviously when Cori Bush did win, AOC jumps on and says, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, sister. This is amazing. Isn't this great?" Et cetera, et cetera. And exact same thing happened with this Amazon labor union. Nowhere to be found when it matters, nowhere to be found when your use as a surrogate would really be important. But then after the fact, let's go, strong arm emoji, this is awesome, we're all in this fight together, etc., etc., bullshit after bullshit. So that's how I see it. Do you think there's some legitimacy to that she just didn't want to endorse something that she saw was that she predicted would fail?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know because there are examples of her actually doing courageous things. Remember, she endorsed Bernie after he had a heart attack and was like, basically, I mean, nobody thought he had a chance at that point. And she called him right after he had a heart attack and said, I'm going to endorse you, and then had the massive rally in Queens that I covered. So that would, and won her huge support on the left for showing up for Bernie, because there was rumors that her and Warren had been talking for months. So from that to this, you also add in, I mean, every month I feel like there's another full page, like either Vanity Fair or New York Magazine, and full page spreads where like she's kind of criticizing Biden, but not really. So something has shifted dramatically from just a year or two in terms of her. And not only is it, to me, morally not defensible. I mean, these are workers in New York, but Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the world. It doesn't matter if it's in your district. There's plenty of people from Staten Island from her district that travel to Staten Island to work. But also, just from a political standpoint, I don't really know who's advising her, because the most successful thing she did were protests. When she was outside Pelosi's office, that got a ton of attention. Not a lot negative from the media, but at least it put Green New Deal and climate, forced it into the media. The short-lived eviction thing where they all protested out there, that got media attention.
And let's not forget too, when she pretty much single-handedly prevented the Amazon headquarters from being built in New York City. So she has a history of being anti-Amazon. And
effective in certain cases. So again, I mean, she has shifted. Her original chief of staff, communications director, quit or left, left on good terms. I think they were forced out. And I don't know who's advising her now, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of it comes down to very similar to Bernie, that they're in there seeing the increasing rightward shift of the Republicans. That's the stuff she tweets about the strongest. And that's valid. I mean, I was just covering this Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, and the Republicans are doing really harmful culture war stuff on steroids. But I think she wrongly thinks if we just focus on the Republicans and kind of sort of make suggestions to the Democrats, then we're focusing on the more evil. Yeah, you're emboldening them, the Republicans, to continue winning by having this mealy-mouthed Republican-light Democratic Party that's corrupt. And she definitely has not brought the ruckus to the Democratic Party. And she is the easy target. But let's remember, Jamal Bowman is a New York congressman. He didn't do anything either. Mondaire Jones is a New York congressman. Didn't do anything. Chucky Sleaze Schumer, he's a New York, he's a Senate majority leader. Not a word. So it's easy to, and I think Krystal is right to point out that she shouldn't be showing up with muscle emojis at the last minute. But it's a collective thing that there was no one to be found on the progressive left, major figures showing up or even showing social media support. And you're going to need that. You're going to need that to make a broader, successful Amazon unionization push, because Amazon, if you think what Starbucks is doing is bad, and it is, Jeff Bezos is going to go a lot harder.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that in a potential like national response. Maybe I saw people tweeting about worst case scenarios the other day. Missouri is one of the few purple states that is not a right to work state. People often say right to work for less because it makes it sound good if you aren't familiar with what it is, when really it's just a union busting legislation. Do you think that there's any chance that Jeff Bezos will just go crazy, spend a bunch of money trying to make like right to work federal, so it just makes it harder and harder and harder? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think there's a great chance he just says we're shutting down this massive warehouse, and we'll take the L and the lost revenue, because it's one of the biggest Amazon warehouses in the country, just to send a message. And frankly, again, because the labor laws in this country don't really have much teeth. It's his company, and he could do that if he wants. I think it's possible he goes the right to work stuff, but I see him sending a message more directly now, which would be shutting down a warehouse like this, or threatening to shut down other warehouses that unionize, laying off workers, cutting hours, basically retaliating, because there would be no criminal penalty. And I mean, look at it. It's silence of the political lambs right now. Pelosi has not said a word to congratulate them. Schumer hasn't. No other Democratic leaders have. Biden's press secretary gave a very low decibel congratulations when asked. So they definitely don't have the support of the Democratic Party, of course, not the Republican Party. And Bezos is a very powerful figure, and Amazon has an army of lobbyists that are thick as thieves in the halls of Congress.